With the continued rise of housing prices, Jeremy Grantham, a British economist that predicted the crash of the Japanese economy in the 80s and the crash of the dot-com bubble, predicts that the rising cost of the housing market will be the catalyst that will burst his so-called everything bubble. Let's find out more about Jeremy Grantham's 2023 market crash today at Finance Spur. Hit that like button and subscribe for more videos about finance, technology, and business. Jeremy Grantham predicted that the S&P 500, or the stock market index tracking the performance of the top 500 largest companies in the US stock exchange like Apple, Tesla, and Microsoft, is expected to dip 50% or about 2,000 points by the end of the year. Grantham quoted, "This one is pretty damn big. It's bigger than the year 2000 because it includes real estate and bonds. And that one did not. The economy had a gentle recession. It had no problem with real estate. It had no problem with the markdown of debt. And yet, the Nasdaq went down 82%, Amazon went down 92%, and the S&P went down 50%. Be advised, this is not a gentle setback like 2000. Grantham sees a parallel between the market today and the 2000s. This happened when an explosion in the price of tech stock skyrocketed and then plummeted down to earth. Grantham also predicted that this market crash would hurt the US economy more. But before we dive deeper into the possible stock market crash, let's take a look first at who is Jeremy Grantham. Grantham was born on October 6, 1938 in England. He studied economics at the University of Sheffield and completed his MBA at Harvard Business School. Grantham also predicted the late 1980s Japanese asset price bubble, and he also predicted the dot-com bubble in the 1990s. Now, what is bizarrely similar, the current events today are oddly the same as what happened before the Great Depression, which ravaged the US economy for almost a decade. Stock markets reached an all-time high in early 2022. It was also post-pandemic. The US ended the war on terror in Afghanistan and Iraq during the late 2010s. And eerily alike, it was the 20s of the decade. Grantham stated, "The big picture is we have a little handful of these super bubbles. Every one of them is followed by a recession. If you get anything really wrong, like 1929, it's followed by depression. If you mess around with the financial system, you have the terrible happenings of the great financial crash." Do you think there will be another great recession? I want to know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. And if you are liking content about finance, technology, and business, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos. But what are these so-called bubbles? An economic bubble happens when there is a rapid escalation of market value, particularly in the price of assets. Inflation is followed by a decrease in value or a contraction that we call a bubble burst. Mainly, bubble bursts happen when a certain asset reached a record high peak in value, which will then eventually turn into a sharp decline. Supply and demand also affects bubbles as it also affects prices and inflation. Now, is there currently a bubble? Most economists say that there is a possibility of another housing bubble, a rapid rise of housing prices into unsustainable levels, and the high demand and low supply of it are recipes for disaster. However, analysts and realtors also suggested that the housing supply would soon catch up to the demand, and the housing prices would soon stabilize. But Grantham stated in an interview that, "The trouble with this bubble is it's an everything bubble. We have bubbled the important and dangerous housing market to record prices. We bubbled the bond market to levels that had never been seen in the history of man with the lowest rates ever recorded. Fine arts and every other asset through the roof, and equities, particularly in the US, at or close to the highest points ever reached." Grantham not only states there is a possibility of a housing bubble, but also bond markets and other assets too. These bubbles are called everything bubbles. This refers to a situation where multiple assets like bonds, stocks, housing, and many more commodities are experiencing inflated prices and values at the same time and rate. When will the market crash? Grantham predicted that the market will crash between October 1st and the end of April of this year. Grantham also explained that US presidents tend to stimulate the economy during the middle of their terms. This is to create a strong economic background before the next election. Now, the United States is not new to a market bubble burst or crash. The Black Tuesday or the 1929 stock market crash, the 1987 stock market crash or Black Monday, and the 2008 housing bubble crash. But one thing is certain, and as history dictates, the US economy would grow back to steady rates after a stock market crash within a year or two. But of course, the economy would crash in a sharp decline after a crash, and inflation and unemployment would follow soon. We will never know if Grantham's prediction will happen. Predictions are not 100% accurate, and economies tend to be unpredictable sometimes. A lot could happen within a day, a month, or a year. The crash could happen tomorrow, or it could never happen at all. But this does not mean that we should not take this seriously. The possibilities are still high. Now, if you are afraid of what to do if there is a crash, don't panic. Investing long-term is one of the best ways to prepare for a crash. Diversifying also helps to mitigate losses and reduce risk. And also, manage your emotions. Don't let fear and panic from the market crash get into you and lead you to impulsive decision-making. Market crashes are all part of the modern world. As the saying goes, what comes up must come down. It is something that we cannot avoid. Although predictions are not perfectly accurate, we can still prepare for what is to come. A market crash does not equate to the fall of the whole economy, although it plays a part in it. Whether Jeremy Grantham's prediction is true or not, only time will tell. But if you like watching videos about million-dollar scams or technologies such as the Tesla Cybertruck, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos about finance, technology, and business. But for now, this is Finance Spur. Have a wonderful day.